Meet Princess Li Ran of Belgium, the first Chinese princess in Europe. She used to be a saleswoman in China until she met Prince Charles-Joseph of Belgium, and they fell in love. They got married in 2010, and now, 14 years later, they live happily together. But how did they meet? And what does their son look like now? To find out the answers to these questions, watch the video until the end. Don't forget to subscribe for more stories like this in the future. Li Ran entered the world in 1984 in Meizhou, Guangdong, China. Her parents were just regular workers, not rich at all. Even though Li Ran wasn't considered pretty as a child, she was super smart. When she started going to school, she put in a lot of effort into her studies without her parents having to ask her. She really loved learning. Li Ran also fell in love with playing the piano when she was in elementary school. Even though her family didn't have much money, they still made sure she could take piano lessons. They wanted to support her interests and help her follow her dreams. It's amazing how much they cared about her happiness and success, even if they didn't have a lot of money themselves. Li Ran was an excellent student and became really good at playing the piano, even passing level 10 at a young age. After finishing high school in 2002, she got into the finance department at Beijing Language and Culture University. Li Ran spent 4 years there and graduated in 2006 with a bachelor's degree in economics. Usually, people from working-class families would start looking for a job after getting their bachelor's degree. But Li Ran wanted to explore more, so she went to Paris, France, for 2 years to study for her MBA degree, which she earned in 2008. While she was in France, she learned to speak French really well. Studying abroad can be really expensive, especially for students who have to pay for everything themselves. Li Ran didn't want to put too much pressure on her parents, so she worked part-time jobs while she was studying. She wanted to help out with the costs of tuition and living expenses. It shows how responsible and hardworking Li Ran is to balance studying and working at the same time. She's determined to make the most of her opportunities and create a bright future for herself. After finishing her studies, Li Ran decided to stay in France. She started her career as an intern at a Givenchy store for a year. Then, she worked as a salesperson at 2 luxury brand stores, Balenciaga and Fendi. People who shop at these stores are usually rich or willing to spend a lot of money. Li Ran is really good at talking to customers because she speaks fluent English and French and has lots of experience in sales. Customers love her. In 2009, while working at Fendi, Li Ran met a charming designer named Charles. Little did she know, he would become her true love. What's even more surprising is that Charles isn't just a designer. He's a prince from the Belgium Lean family. Prince Charles is 4 years older than Li Ran and was born in Paris in 1980. His dad is Prince Lean and his mom is Princess Crow. It's like a real-life fairy tale. The Ligne family is super old and respected in Belgium, dating all the way back to the 11th century. Even though they don't rule like kings or queens, they still have fancy titles like princes and princesses, just like in ancient Roman times. But Charles, despite being a prince, doesn't really care much about his title. He's too busy being awesome. He works as a designer and interior architect, runs his own company, and makes smart investments. It was his job as a designer that brought him and Li Ran together. Li Ran is amazing at speaking Chinese, French, and English, so talking to Charles was easy. He was drawn to her cool personality and great conversation skills. They quickly realized they had a lot in common and shared the same interests. This helped them build a strong connection and laid the foundation for their long-term relationship. It's like they were meant to find each other. They fell in love just like any other couple, going on dates and talking about their past and future. Some people might think that a couple with such different backgrounds wouldn't succeed, but after dating for a year and a half, Prince Charles asked Li Ran to marry him. He wanted to spend the rest of his life with her. When Charles introduced Li Ran to his family, they were surprised because no one from an Asian background had ever been part of their family before. People wondered if their big cultural differences would cause problems, but luckily, Charles's parents were open-minded. They trusted their son's choice and welcomed Li Ran into their family with open arms. In 2010, the couple got married, but they didn't have a big public wedding because of their different religious beliefs. Instead, they only invited close family and friends to share in their happiness. It's a beautiful example of love overcoming differences and bringing people together. Compared to Charles's brother Edward's grand wedding, Charles and Li Ran's wedding seemed simpler. But the love in Charles's eyes when he looked at his new wife and the happiness Li Ran felt holding his hand made their wedding incredibly special. After marrying Charles, Li Ran became a princess, becoming the first Chinese princess in a European royal family. A year later, their son Amadeo was born. Since Charles's brother didn't have any children, Amadeo automatically became a prince with inheritance rights from birth. Even though Li Ran was happily married and loved being a mom, she didn't want her whole life to only be about her family. So when Amadeo turned 3, she went back to work. Li Ran was really good at her job at Dior, and she climbed the career ladder quickly. By the time she was 28, she was the brand experience director. In 2015, Li Ran's success was recognized when she was named one of the 7 most successful women in China. She even appeared on the cover of the famous fashion magazine, Vogue. Li Ran's story shows that you can have a happy family life and a successful career at the same time. To everyone else, it seemed like Li Ran had everything. She married a prince, her son was set to inherit the throne, and she had enough money to last a lifetime. It looked like a fairy tale come true. But Li Ran didn't want to live like a typical princess. She didn't enjoy the fancy life in Europe. Instead, she convinced Prince Charles to leave their luxurious home in Belgium and move to China with her. Nowadays, they live in Shanghai and lead a simple life as regular people. Despite their royal status, Li Ran and Prince Charles have been happily married for 14 years, and their love is as strong as ever. Li Ran prefers to keep a low profile, rarely giving interviews or sharing updates on social media. Their son is already 11 years old, growing up in a loving and down-to-earth environment. It's a reminder that true happiness doesn't always come from wealth or status, but from living life on your own terms. This couple, who once faced disapproval from others, has now been happily together for 14 years. Prince Charles often shares photos on social media, expressing his love for China and his wife, breaking stereotypes with his actions. What's truly admirable about Li Ran and Charles is that they don't care much about status. They don't chase fame or feel limited by titles. They believe that real success and happiness come from hard work, which is why they're so compatible. They share this mindset. Stories like theirs are really inspiring. A regular girl from an ordinary family finds her prince and becomes a princess because of her intelligence and charm. It's heartwarming to see that in today's world, there are fewer prejudices. Now, any girl, no matter where she's from, can marry a prince. What do you think about their story? Do you agree? Let us know in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe if you want more stories like this in the future. Thanks for watching.